ladies and gentlemen, and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host, Brett Murphy, and for today's video, it is going to be another brand new movie review. And I'm going to be reviewing Top Gun Maverick. So yes, it has been a very long 36 years since the original Top Gun, and fans have been clamoring for a sequel that entire time. After multiple delays due to a certain global pandemic, we now finally have it. So the real question on everyone's mind is, does it deliver? Well, we're about to find out. Of course, as always with these brand new movie reviews of mine, this is going to be 110% spoiler free, so you can proceed with confidence. Before we hop into the actual review itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my new movie reviews, so be sure to check that out, and I guarantee you'll find something you like. And so without further ado, let's hop right into things. So the very first thing up on my positives list is Tom Cruise. The man is a living legend. This dude does it all. Pretty much all of his stunts he does himself. I mean, we've seen some of the crazy shit that he has done on the Mission Impossible movies. The dude is absolutely nuts, but on top of fully committing to his roles and doing all of these crazy stunts, he's a damn good actor. He always has been, and it is no different here. He slides right back into Maverick's shoes and pilot seat like he truly never left. And he delivered on all fronts. He delivered on the action sequences, he delivered on the emotional moments, he's just as charismatic and charming as ever. My next positive is more of a statement than anything, and that is the fact that practical effects trumps all. It is very rare nowadays to see blockbuster movies use so many practical effects. The Mission Impossible movies, also starring Tom Cruise, are pretty well known for it, but they are few and far between. CGI is kind of just the way of the world nowadays, except for, the select few, like Mission Impossible or Mad Max Fury Road, and now Top Gun Maverick. There is a little message from Tom Cruise at the beginning of the movie stating that they used real F-18s and real pilots, real helicopters, and all this stuff, and it paid off big time. Everything in the jets is phenomenal. The action is so well shot, it is truly exhilarating. Some of the biggest and most captivating thrills I have ever experienced in a movie theater. And I think a lot of that comes down to the direction. Joseph Kosinski was the director for this flick, and he has made some pretty decent movies so far, like Tron Legacy and Oblivion. And in this movie, he showcased what he is truly made of, and I really hope to see him in the director's chair of more bigger blockbuster movies down the line. Certainly one of the most underrated directors working today. My next point is that the last 45 minutes or so of this movie were some of the most intense 45 minutes I have probably ever sat through. When I tell you I was sweating, I genuinely mean I was sweating. My heart was pounding. It felt like my stomach was in my throat. They did this so well. Again, it is so well shot. The practical effects, the emotion, the story takes the time to make you care about these characters, so the last 45 minutes are extremely intense. The next point that I'm not going to spend too much time on is the score. I just thought it was great. Again, like a lot of this movie, it blended a lot of what you love from the original mixed with some modern stuff, and it worked really well. Which I guess also acts as a perfect segue into my next point, which is the fact that I found that this movie was able to find the very rare perfect balance between nostalgia and the new stuff. In terms of its stories, in terms of its characters, in terms of its callbacks, there was a lot in here, but it worked. Lots of callbacks to the original that felt earned and not cheap, but plenty of new stuff to engage younger audiences while also giving fans of the original something new. My next point is that the supporting cast are all exceptional, and you, quite to my surprise, get an appropriate amount of time to really get to know and care for the vast majority of them. Miles Teller as Rooster, aka Goose's son from the original, is one of the very clear standouts. The dude is a great actor. He's had a rough go over the last few years. He hasn't really had a big role that was really talked about since Whiplash way back in 2014. I think that he really needed this for his career, and he nailed it. But a lot of the other Top Gun pilots I thought were awesome too. Monica Barbaro as Phoenix, Louis Pullman as Bob, Glenn Powell as Hangman was also definitely a standout, and I really do think that this guy's phone is going to be ringing off the hook from now on. I really do feel you're going to be seeing him in a lot more things after this movie. But also John Hamm was great, Charles Parnell was great, and it truly hit home seeing Val Kilmer's return. It was very brief, but it was done with so much care and grace, it brought a tear to my eye. If you don't know Val Kilmer's story, I don't have time to explain it to you all right now. Definitely look it up, but the dude has been through it, and he right now, in the real world, does not have the ability to speak any longer, but Tom Cruise and I believe Christopher McQuarrie as the producer and Joseph Kosinski as the director fought for Kilmer to be in this movie, and they handled his condition so well, and I applaud them for that so much. And it was definitely one of the more emotional moments in the movie that really hit hard. But the biggest surprise, for me at least, when it comes to the supporting cast, was Bashir Salahuddin, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and I know that I'm not. But he played a character by the name of Hondo, and the dude was an absolute scene stealer. Not only was he hilarious, but he too delivered on the emotional beats, and I loved his connection with Maverick. The next point that I really want to commend this movie for is that it felt like a surprisingly natural progression from the original story. Yes, despite releasing, and I think being set like 36 years or 30 odd years after the original, it doesn't feel like a forced cash grabby sequel. It felt like the people who wrote this story, directed the movie, and starred in it really cared about the original and wanted to move the story forward with just as much care, and I feel that they did that. The last point that I wanted to make, and it's something I touched on briefly when talking about Val Kilmer's appearance in the movie, and that is that this movie has some deeply emotional moments. There was far more than just that one occasion that I was tearing up in this movie, and that's something I totally didn't expect from a Top Gun sequel. And now I do have a couple of negatives. I was really hoping to not have any negatives with this movie, but look, no movie is absolutely flawless. They're not major negatives by any means, but yes, they were there, and I feel that they do need some addressing. The first thing is any of the stuff with Jennifer Connelly's character. Now, I don't think she was bad in the movie. In fact, I probably could have included her in the supporting cast list because I thought her performance was great. But any of the stuff with her, I just felt kind of slowed the movie down and was a bit boring. I just wasn't totally invested in the relationship, and with that, I just didn't care about it. And the only other negative I have with this movie is that the final part of the final act felt a bit too far-fetched. It almost felt like they pulled it out of another, more generic action movie. The tone just kind of shifted and it felt a bit more, I don't know how to say it, artificial than the rest of the movie did. Like I said, just kind of generic action movie territory, whereas the rest of the movie really wasn't that. At the end of the day though, I was really blown away by Top Gun Maverick. Heading into it, I knew that the reviews were extremely positive, but I kept away from reading anything because I wanted to go in with as fresh and open of a mind as I could. And with that, I ended up absolutely adoring this movie. Yes, I do have a few minor negatives, but they didn't take away from the overall experience that much. So with all that being said, I'm going to be giving Top Gun Maverick a 9 out of 10. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my review. While you're at it, feel free to let me know what you would score Top Gun Maverick out of 10. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you'd like to see more content, consider subscribing to my channel and ringing that little bell icon. That way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you, and while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.